Hallelujah. Jesus is alive. Death has lost its victory, and the grave has been denied. Jesus is forever. He's alive. He's alive. He's the Alpha and Omega, first and last is He. 'Cause the sin is broken, we have perfect liberty. Yeah, my God has risen. He's alive. He's alive. Hallelujah. Jesus is alive. Death has lost its victory, and the grave has been denied. Jesus is forever. He's alive. He's alive. He's the Alpha and Omega, first and last is He.
Imagine yourself in the worst of all possible situations. Imagine yourself as one of Jesus' disciples, or as one of the women who followed Him.
Imagine that He is no longer amongst you because He's dead. He was crucified and nailed to the cross.
Imagine the veil of the temple torn in two from top to bottom. Imagine the earth as it quaked and the rocks were split.
Soldiers tried to clear the narrow street, but the crowd pressed in to see a man condemned to die on Calvary. He was bleeding from a beating. There were stripes on His back, and He wore a crown of thorns upon His head, and He bore with every
for they know not what they do.
You saw when the soldiers came to the place called the Skull. They nailed Jesus to a cross. They also nailed 2 criminals to crosses, one on each side of Jesus.
And above his head, they put up the charge against him. It read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews."
The officers and soldiers guarding Jesus felt the earthquake, and they saw everything else that happened. They were frightened, and they said to each other, "This man really was God's son."
It was the 3rd hour that they crucified him.
Father, into your hands I commit my spirit.
Or at least they hold no hope for you now.
That is because the horror of the crucifixion is still fresh in your minds. You see him, you hear him in agony there, dying on the cross right in front of you, when there was nothing that you could do about it.
You think about your part in it, and you wonder, what could I have done differently?
You have been frightened and in hiding for days. But now, it is Sunday.
Day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she went running to Simon Peter and John and said,
"They have taken the Lord from the tomb, and I don't know where they put him."
What do you mean? How can this be? No.
So Peter and the other disciples started for the tomb,
Let's go see.
both of them running. But the other disciple, he outran Peter and he reached the tomb first. He bent over, looking at the strips of linen lying there, but he did not go in.
Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as a cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head.
Finally, John, who had reached the tomb first, he saw and he believed. You see, they still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. The disciples then returned to where they were staying.
Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb. She saw two angels in white standing where Jesus' body had been, one at the head, the other at the foot. They asked her,
Woman, why are you crying? They have taken my Lord away, and I don't know where they put him.
Mary turned and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize it was Jesus. He asked her,
Woman, why are you crying? And who is it you're looking for?
Thinking he was the gardener, Mary replied,
Sir, if you have carried him away, let me know where you are, and I will go get him.
Mary, you must hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father.
Crucified at Calvary.